From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
Well, it was an announcement this past week. It was not a total surprise. Amanda Edwards stepping out of the race for Houston mayor after Congresswoman Jackson Lee jumped in. But Edwards is not getting out of politics, but rather is now running for the seat currently held by Jackson Lee in Congress, representing the 18th Congressional District. Amanda joins me this morning to talk about this change in direction. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Oh, glad to see you here. I want to ask you about why you decided to run for Congress. But first of all, what was your reaction when you first heard Congresswoman Jackson Lee was going to run for mayor?
Well, certainly this has been an exciting race. That's to say the least. We've got lots of candidates in the field of mayor's race because this is the first time in 8 years where there's an open seat. Certainly that was an interesting twist to the plot.
Well, and you had announced a year ago.
March of 2022, Khambrel.
Right.
In fact, we sat down early talking about the early stages of that race.
Sure.
And I was one of the early entrants into the race. But we knew it was going to become a crowded field. That wasn't anything unbeknownst to us. But of course, as the field gets bigger and bigger, and of course more people come in, that brings interesting twists to the story.
So Jackson Lee is obviously a big fish, and you obviously decided that it would be easier to represent people, because that's what you've always done. You've kind of had this heart for servant leadership type of thing. So you're running for her position. Did you talk to Congresswoman Jackson Lee about this at all?
So Congresswoman Jackson Lee and I have known each other for quite some time. I interned in her office when I was 22 years old. Fresh out of college in Washington, D.C. So we have a great line of open communication, and so we've kept it very positive.
So now going forward, what happens now? You decided to run for this seat. How do you change the dynamic and the way you run, and how do you change the focus on what you talk about?
Well, the interesting question when I was thinking about making this pivot was, does this still tie to the mission? I'm very mission-centered and oriented, and my mission is to create a community where everybody, no matter what their background, no matter where they're from, has the opportunity not just to live in our community, we need them to thrive there. So that means you've got to solve their challenges, but that also means you've got to be able to seize the opportunity. And so that's the mission that I'm on when I think about my servant leadership, is being responsive to the needs of the community. And when we think about the 18th Congressional District, the historic 18th Congressional District.
Which, where you're from?
Yes, I'm from there. My family's from there. I was educated there and, of course, now live there. And so deep roots throughout the 18th Congressional District. But when I think about their needs and the issues that matter most, all of that still remains true. You just have a different set of tools in the toolkit to use in order to deliver results that they're looking for and deserve.
So when you decide to go to Congress, you know what I'm not going to call it a cesspool, but it is just, the partisan politics is just debilitating.
Yeah.
How do you think you're going to be able to fit into that and change things if you're able to get elected?
One of the things that I said first when I decided to run for Congress was that I was going to place people over the politics. I think the people are tired of all of the political punditry. I think they're tired of all the political football and gamemanship, because they don't win when politics comes first. People win when you put servant leaders in place that will stop at nothing to make sure that they get the results for the community they represent and serve. And so we need more people who are going to be in these positions like the 18th Congressional District that will really be focused on the impact, the governance. What did I deliver for my constituents? That's what matters, and that's what you take that public oath of office to do. It just so happens that we're in a very toxic state of our politics right now, where people feel that they have a license just to engage in toxic politics rather than focus on the needs and appropriate impact for their community.
I think I've noticed, and many people have noticed, that the loudest voice and the shiny object that's banging the biggest drum gets a lot of the attention out of Washington, D.C. A lot of folks who are doing good work, they don't really get the attention.
That's right.
What kind of congressperson do you think you're going to be in terms of being able to get the job done, representing your constituents, and getting a bigger message out to the public about effective leadership in Congress?
Yeah, there's a new wave of great leaders like Lauren Underwood, for example, who came in and got to work with sponsoring policies across a broad spectrum. She was very passionate about health care access and also things like the Momnibus bill that deals with maternal Black health morbidity. Those are things that, you know, she was able to do very early, in the early stages of her entry into Congress. And I tend to be a little bit of a policy wonk, so I'm going to enjoy the ability to listen to the constituents and then formulate policy solutions, either to deliver more resources to our region or to also fix it through a legislative fix. So some of those things I've been having conversations about: small business, restaurant owners, just what are the new challenges that people are facing in this post-pandemic environment, and how do we create legislative solutions to that? So I am ready to roll up my sleeves, get to work in Washington, and then come back home, roll up my sleeves, and get to work in the district.
So when you were planning this out, I know when you were a little child playing in the playground, you were probably thinking, I'm going to Emory, I'm going to go to work in Congresswoman Jackson Lee's office, I'm going to go to Harvard, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do...
I wish it was that clear.
But now you have a chance to do something, hopefully. Now, do you know who else is in the race at this point for the 18th? And what are your concerns about that?
Yeah, you know, we're going to run our race. Right now, the field has not filled up at this stage and point in time. We're getting in early. I think it's important for us to familiarize, make sure that we're going across the full district, because there are some new areas within the 18th Congressional District. It was modified for the first time in quite some time, and so we want to make sure all of the district's voices are heard. I'm someone who is very centered in community-based leading and listening to the residents, hearing what they're saying versus what I assume they may say. Go out, engage them, you know, and meet them where they are. And so that's part of this process for me, is to make sure that we are going to be doing that in the next several months. Also building the support, making sure people know that we're in the congressional race now versus the mayor's race, because sometimes there'll be a little confusion. We've been running for a year in the mayor's race. So making sure there's clarity there, but of course, amplifying the voices of the community. And that's how you tailor your solutions. You don't just have a list of things you're going to do without even first consulting the people you seek to serve.
Well, I want to thank you for your willingness to serve the public.
Thank you.
Stay safe on the campaign trail, and we look forward to having you back here as we get closer to the election time, and who knows, maybe after the election.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.